Hey guys,
Hello everyone!
welcome this week to our live feed. I'm Dr. Garrett.
And I'm Holly Hajaj.
You didn't say that right. It's more of a Hajaj.
Oh, thanks, I forgot.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on that.
Mine's Garrett.
Garrett.
Yes, that's
Okay.
how the old Irish. Well, that's not right.
Yeah.
All right. So we've been talking about natural medicine cabinet for the last month.
Yes.
And so we talked about colds and flus and infections. And today we're going to talk about natural remedies that you should have in your house for gut problems.
Yes. What are your gut problems? If you're so willing to share, please put that out there for us and we might be able to speak to it tonight. You know you've got some gut problems going on out there, America. You know it.
America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have gut problems going on. I could barely do my yoga poses yesterday in my yoga class.
Do people fart in yoga?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Is it frowned upon or kind of celebrated?
We teach it. No, we don't
Do you
teach
really?
it. We don't teach it. It's not frowned upon. It's natural to relieve wind. In fact, there are poses. There is a pose called relieving wind pose. I can't remember what.
This is where they squat down. Look around real quick, make sure nobody's looking.
It happens, and it's normal, and you can't keep the enemy inside.
So
okay?
that's like that book, Everybody Poops.
Everybody poops.
So everybody farts in yoga.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's going to be okay.
yeah. So you know what? Like, I'm like dead tired today. So the jokes may not be as bad today. But so last night I ate this spicy dish, and then this, like at 3 a.m., I woke up, and my throat was just on fire. It was burning. And so apparently I had some reflux in the middle of the night, which I never have. But whatever I ate did not like me. So the spices in there were like making my upper throat just on fire. And so I was like, how I got a cough today because
He
of that.
was like that.
Yeah. And so at 3 in the morning, I was up scrounging around everywhere trying to find some natural remedy that I could do because I don't have reflux, so I don't have anything like on hand. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find any baking soda. And I thought, what do I have? And so I got toothpaste, and I had that non-fluoridated Tom's toothpaste that I use. And I put a whole bunch of that in my mouth, and then a little bit of water, and I gargled it because typically the base of toothpaste is like baking soda, so it should be a buffer against the acid and the spices that are in the back of my throat. And it took a while, but that was my little half-assed home remedy.
You were being tested for our show tonight.
That's right. So it burned for like an hour still after that, and then I woke up a few hours later, and then I almost missed an appointment. I had to like just go right away. So that was pretty rough. So
yeah. So we need to fill your medicine cabinet.
That's right. So what could we fill it with? That'd be a good.
That might be a good show topic.
We should do a show about that.
Whoa. Light bulb.
I wish we had this show last week, and then I would have had some ideas.
That's right.
Yeah.
For yourself.
But, you know, that's that thing. Is like if you don't have it all the time, then you're not used to it. But the nice thing about a lot of these, like I didn't have ginger, you know?
Dr. G.
I know. Marianne was there, and I was just like, get away. Where's ginger? Ginger's what gets rid of the pain. Yeah.
For those of you who are old enough to pick that joke up, tell us what show he's referring to.
That's Nick at Night.
If you noticed. Okay.
Nick at Night? They still
I
show
don't know.
that?
I barely watch TV.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, well.
Hi everyone. Hi Kendra, Brianna. Let's see, Ginny. I think I saw Tim. Hello.
How you guys doing?
Nice to have you with us.
Hopefully we don't know anybody with gut problems that are on here. They're all cured.
Jen. Hey Jen. Gut problems. Actually, I was going to ask if you'd share your gut problems if you feel confident enough.
Yeah.
I'll be vulnerable. I'm telling you, I was totally bloated and full while teaching my yoga class yesterday. It was so uncomfortable. It would have been nice to know what I could have done for that.
We're like becoming living examples for our talks now.
Vulnerability creates connection.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
All right. Well, I got a couple interesting stats for you.
Gilligan's Island. Thank you guys. Sorry.
Nice.
Okay.
It was also, oh no, they made fun of it on All Is Sunny. Alright, so do you have tummy troubles? Are they acute or chronic? But really what we're concerned with now is chronic. But GI conditions are now the #1 issue for primary care. Do you know that?
No.
So everybody's having gas, bloating, irritable bowel, constipation, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting.
I wonder why.
I think a lot of it has to do with politics, but
the American diet is so healthy.
the American diet. I bet that's what
it's so healthy. I don't know what else it could be.
It can't be our food, because that's crazy. Why would you have gut problems because of food? You know how many patients I've had come in with like all kinds of gut problems, and they went to every specialist, and they always said, it's not your food.
That's despicable.
But you know what it is? It's your food.
It is your food.
So, long term, there's different fixes that we can talk about, but we need the short term ones too. So, this was interesting, is that 74% of Americans are now living with chronic GI conditions. 74%. So that's 3 out of every 4 people. That's a lot.
That's everyone. We should every single one watching should have something to share.
Just don't share your farts.
Yeah, you can keep those at home. That's why we do this talk here online.
Put them in a jar, write your name on a $20 bill, and send that to us.
Please don't.
And I'll take the $20, and you can have the jar farts. Well, we can mix them all together.
That just sounds kind of gross to me.
All right.
By the way, can you please share our talk with your friends if you know, especially if you know anyone who's really struggling. I know someone who's having their colon removed this week, sadly. So there's some people out there really struggling in really, really serious ways. These simple things can also become long-term solutions, right, that we have to suggest.
Yeah.
So share our talk and tell us what's bugging you, too.
So this was interesting, too. There was an article when I was lecturing up in Chicago from the New England Journal of Medicine, from the Washington School of Medicine, and it said that 1 out of every 2 diagnoses are made incorrect. 1 out of every 2. So 52% of the time, your doctor was most likely giving you the wrong diagnosis or wrong treatment. And we talked about this before, I think, in one of the other talks, but like the best one was 96%, and that was for upper respiratory. So that's pretty good. Somebody coughs, has a sore throat, it's upper respiratory. Now 4% of doctors couldn't figure that one out. So that's a problem. But the worst they did on was they were only 36% accurate on gut problems, which means 74% of the time, almost 3 out of every 4 patients, it was incorrect diagnosis or treatment.
What were they misdiagnosing things? What diagnoses were they using instead?
So the gut's a very complicated thing. So when I did surgery rounds, that's what Dr. Grusin taught us, was that you have all these different layers within your abdomen, let alone from mouth to anus. All of the things it could be nerve, it could be blood, it could be connective tissue, it could be the direct tissue, it could be inflammatory. So there's all these considerations you have to go through, and because gut things tend to be the most complicated things, it's just easier just to make a quick diagnosis and move on to the next patient. And so it tends to be one of the most inaccurate diagnoses and treatments.
Well, and also too because a lot of Western medical doctors don't know what a good digestive or nutritional program might include. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, does anybody know how many times you're supposed to poop a day?
I don't, but I was just speaking with someone last night about this.
About poop?
Yes, I was. It's an interesting and fun topic.
Is that TikTok? What is it?
So she thought you shouldn't poop 3 times a day because that meant you weren't assimilating your nutrients.
Yeah, but you're supposed to have the oral anal reflex. So if food goes in, poop goes in.
Yeah,
No,
that's what I told
food
her.
goes in, poop goes out, right?
Right.
And on South Park,
No.
there was a theory that if you put food in your butt,
No.
poop will come out of your mouth.
I'd really like to know what actually comes next.
And it worked. Now, it's a cartoon, but I think they really stumbled onto something there. I think we're talking clinical trials here. Short term.
I'm going to shift gears. Hi, Jan. Hi, Jennifer.
What were we talking about?
We were talking
pooping
about
3 times a day.
how many times a day you should poop.
Yeah. So, if you had a new baby, you feed the baby and then you give the baby to dad. And because you know the baby's going to poop right after you feed it. So from the start, we have this oral anal reflex. And with that, we're supposed to basically have this transit bowel time that's pretty consistent. Now, if somebody eats a bunch of junk food that doesn't really have much substance to it, then they probably won't. And they may only go like 3 times a week. But if somebody eats a lot of fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, berries, legumes, greens, then they should have lots of normal bowel movements. So with that...
How many did you say per day?
3.
3.
Well, so basically the rule of thumb is 1 large bowel movement for every large meal. So
Okay.
if somebody kind of is peckish and snacks throughout the day,
Yeah.
they might only have 2 or 1, and that'd be perfectly normal for them.
So it isn't true that if you're having 3 bowel movements a day, you're not getting the nutrients you need.
Right. No, that's not true. And one way that you can tell bowel transit time...
Is through?
No. What?
I know
Don't
what
say
you're gonna
peanuts.
Say.
Don't...
I'm not going to say peanuts.
It's not peanuts.
I know it's not peanuts.
It's the organic corn test. And you eat a cup of corn. So, like, if you want to know how well your kids are doing, right, you feed them a cup of corn that's organic, and then you wait to see how long that corn comes out. And so from mouth to anus, it should take about 9 to 12 hours. The longest we ever had, which she still holds the world record, is 16 days.
16 days
16
worth
days.
of meals
She
in your
has
gut.
not been beat. We need someone to take that championship away from her.
No, we don't.
If you eat
No, we
lots
don't.
of wheat and dairy,
That does not.
I think you could win that. Yeah?
Cheese.
Lots of
and
cheese.
lots of cheese.
So that's 48 meals that are in between. So guess what she had? Chronic tummy problems,
Yeah.
right? Undigested food in her bowel. It still took all that time and it didn't all digest anyways.
Yeah.
But we fixed it like that once we knew that was the big problem.
Yeah. We've got a couple of people saying Crohn's.
Crohn's?
We've got
That's a good one.
gastroparesis.
Oh, that's a good one. So gastroparesis is where it stops in the stomach and it won't move forward. Right?
Which, was that what your patient had?
Yeah, for her, she did have gastroparesis.
Yeah.
And so basically, it's patients that take like too many Tums, or they take proton pump inhibitors like Nexium or Prilosec, and they don't have enough acid in their stomach. So then it doesn't communicate to the small intestine, so it's not prepared. So the food just sits there and waits, and that's called gastroparesis. So it's inability of the stomach to digest and break down the food, typically because there's not enough acid in there, and then it just sits. And this one time, I've only had gastroparesis once in my life, and this is don't hold me to the story, but usually my rule of thumb when I first started lecturing across the country about clinical nutrition and laboratory diagnosis is when I was away from the house, I could eat whatever I wanted, right? That was my cheat time. So I'd always have these fantasies about, well, I'm going to eat this really horrible thing on my way to the seminar in Colorado or something. So I was going to Colorado to do a lecture, and I ate a smokehouse burger from Burger King, I think.
Okay.
It had mashed potatoes on it, all that stuff, right? It was...
Did it include a donut?
It was a terrible idea. It was a terrible, terrible idea. My body was not ready for this. And so
Was it chocolate dipped or fried?
Oh, I know. That would have been better.
Okay.
But I ate that thing, And then I drove 8 hours, right? So 8 hours later, I got to the hotel and I started feeling just absolutely miserable. And I thought I was getting profoundly sick, and so I didn't know what to do. I had to go pick up one of the other speakers at the airport in Denver. And so I left the hotel and I was just barely functioning. I mean, like my head was just not working. I finally had to pull over and I was just like, I cannot make it. And so I was like, I'm going to try to throw up. And I threw up, and I threw that burger up. 12 hours later, I threw that burger.
That was still in your stomach.
Right.
That is crazy.
12 hours later.
That's crazy.
And the weird thing is it tasted the same on the way out. That's the weird thing. No, but it was crazy. And once I threw that up, I felt instantly wonderful. It was the most bizarre thing. I thought I was just like on my deathbed.
That was a bad food decision.
Yeah. So what that means is that my stomach acid, for whatever reason, wasn't breaking down that burger, and thus was not going to release it down into my small intestine. And there was only one option at that point, and it was go the other direction. So my body revolted on me in a very good, positive way, of course.
I hate throwing up more than anything. I hate that. Literally, that's probably the one digestive thing I hate more than anything.
Throwing up?
I rarely do it.
I feel like if I throw up enough, I can get in those jeans I always wanted to get into. Look like Brad Pitt.
Are you guys doing okay? This show's kind of gross. We're kind of crude, a little crude, but
a little bit.
but it's kind of funny too. By the way, before you go on, those of you who do have, we had gastroparesis. I think someone else listed something else. IBS and ischemic colitis.
Yeah. Oh, that's
ischemic.
Ischemic. Yeah. Lack of blood flow there.
So, any of you guys that with these diagnoses, if you have questions, you really need something answered, please type something in or message this guy for some help.
Yeah. So gastroparesis. Typically, it's from hypohydrochloridia. Yeah, that's a good word. Secondary to proton pump inhibitors or too much Zantac or something. So, the fix for that is to not need that medication anymore, and that's that food sensitivity test, or to stop doing wheat and dairy and see if it gets better. Like, that's your cheapest, easiest, to stop causing it. So no wheat or dairy. And then drink lots of water. Because you need that for your hydrochloric acid that's produced. And then also staying away from things like, so just kind of provocative tests with nitrate in processed meat or sulfites in wine. Those will kind of interfere with that neurochemistry that happens between the communication of the stomach and the small intestine. Sometimes apple cider vinegar will make a huge difference for gastroparesis. I have a couple patients that in the very beginning, they would do 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar before each meal, and that extra additional acid helped them when their acid was low. They can do acetic acid, which is like white vinegar acid, but that's distilled from corn. You're better off doing the apple cider vinegar because it has the probiotics, and it has several different acids in there from the apples.
Yeah. Apple cider vinegar is like, that's a cure-all for a lot of things.
That is.
Yeah. What?
Oh, no, that probably wouldn't work. I could have tried that. I did have some acetic vinegar, white distilled vinegar under the sink, but I didn't have regular vinegar, like apple cider vinegar, to do that for myself last night. So that's a good one. So gastroparesis, typically it's figure out how to get more acid in there, how to get more fluid in there, and see if that resolves it, and staying away from the most likely wheat and dairy kind of things. And even sugar would probably mess it up too.
Would you consider constipation a form of gastroparesis? No, that's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's different.
Okay.
And then someone said ischemic bowel. That's a little bit more not a quick fix remedy thing for tonight. People have ischemic bowel. Typically, it's because they have decreased blood flow to parts of the bowel through the mesenteric arteries, and when that blood flow decreases, either because of stenosis or it's thinner, like the tube gets smaller, or there's a little plaquing in there, then that part of that gut will hurt like hell. We had a patient one time, it took quite a while of back and forth working with them to get that fixed, but it was, holy crap, that was one of our toughest patients, I think, when it comes to gut stuff.
Yeah.
was that they had intermittent ischemic bowel, and so there was no rhyme or reason, and it was a very slow case where most of them are pretty fast, but eventually we got that all better, which was amazing. And I don't think we had one magic bullet for it. It was just this systematic approach to where finally it was like this helped, this helped, this helped, this helped, this helped. Now it's gone.
Yeah.
But it was pretty rough there for a while.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments here. A lot of people with issues, and if we don't get to your issue tonight, our show's just only an hour long. Dr. Garrett will definitely attend to your question afterward. We had initially planned to sort of talk about things that are pretty common, and we'll try to go ahead and address what you guys are putting out there for us. But we had talked about maybe discussing reflux and stomach aches and bloating and gas and diarrhea and food poisoning and constipation and gastritis, that sort of thing. So did you want to talk a little bit about that, or would you like to address some more of our...
Yeah, we can address those too as we go. Yeah.
Okay. So, we had a couple of Crohn's people.
Okay, so Crohn's, we had another patient that it took a whole month to fix her Crohn's. Now she's developing quite nicely, and all her problems are solved. But usually it's like a month or two, maybe 3 at the most, to typically fix Crohn's. But Crohn's, it's not about ameliorating it with a natural remedy. That's more of, let's figure out what's causing it, stop doing that. Crohn's is T-cell dysregulation with secondary molecular mimicry, which only means, it's a fancy way of saying you're causing it by consuming stuff that you don't know that your immune system is attacking.
Yeah, and if you haven't gotten help elsewhere, Crohn's people or with people with serious digestive diagnoses, come to this guy, because this is his specialty. This is really, really what he's good at. So. Yeah,
Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel, those are usually pretty easy fixes. Rarely do we have to work real hard on those. Although we have a couple patients when it comes to ulcerative colitis, those tend to take a little bit more time because they're affecting tissue depth all the way to the blood vessels. So like a proctitis or a proctalgia in there too. Then we have to work on how do we heal up that gut faster, why we stop irritating it, and you still have to eat. And so that becomes a little bit of a hindrance in it. But if people stick with it, that usually just goes away pretty easy. We had the one patient, was my favorite, that his gastroenterologist said it was the worst case of ulcerative colitis he's ever seen in his practice. And now he's ulcerative colitis free, not bleeding, pooping normal. Doesn't have to keep toilet paper in his car anymore.
Yeah, surgery doesn't have to be the answer.
Yeah.
Amy's saying, she's saying true, she's validating you. She says, my Crohn's seemed to be cured within the first month.
Yeah.
And after 4 months of seeing Dr. Garrett weekly, she says she's home free. Thank you. Thanks for sharing with us.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's just figuring out what those food sensitivities are, and then just going through the rotation of the food, and then long term, it's the fixing the T-cell dysregulation, which is the chemicals and the excess sugar and the excess stress that then raise blood sugars that suppress T cells. So
yeah. Robin says she's had IBSD since childhood, and her doctor does not believe her.
Yeah,
it's getting worse, and she's asking what helps.
Yeah, so I'm trying to see. Is there one of those tests?
Oh, and we did have a question about the test. What test you use?
Do you see it there?
I don't see it.
I had a stack somewhere. But grab that little book down there.
Oh, there's one. I'll grab it.
No, not someone's, but that book.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of like handout ones that I was using at a conference. But if you look at this is like a sample.
Whoops.
So for like Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, reflux.
It'll be backwards, but you'll get the idea.
Yeah. But so it tests your blood and then what foods react to it. And then you just simply stay away from those foods. And that's the simple answer to it. That's the quick fix that we get so many patients better faster. Especially because they've been so many years to have the gastroenterologists and specialists say, it's not your food, it's not your food. And we'll do another show on this, but we have one from a while back that we did this on too, that's on the Facebook videos. But it's just your T cells that identify antigens, misidentify a food for a bacteria or virus, and then it misidentifies a specific tissue that looks just like that antigen, and then every time you eat that food, you attack your gut, and then that's Crohn's or ulcerative colitis or irritable bowel. So that's the easy way to fix those things. It just requires a little bit of testing, and then some lifestyle changes as far as chemicals, food, and a little hormone balance sometimes too, to make sure that you're not stressing to create sugar that suppresses T cells long term.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
All right. I get excited about that stuff, but it's also like after this many years of fixing that many people, it's just kind of like, it's just Crohn's. Just fix it. So,
no big deal.
The first few, I was just like, oh my God, we fixed this. And then after a while, I was just like, another Crohn's. All right. So
that's good news. That's good news for you.
Yeah. But I love when patients give up that one thing that they were sticking with it, which is like suddenly they go somewhere and they forget about looking for a bathroom, or they go to the park and don't know where the bathroom is, or they forget to bring toilet paper in their car, or they, those kind of like cool things. That's when you really know that patient is like completely like, okay, I am fixed.
Yeah. So what kind of basic symptoms are you guys struggling with? We've talked a little bit about specific diagnoses, but we had kind of planned to talk a little bit about just your basic symptoms and what to do for that, and what you might keep in your medicine cabinet at home for those things. So let us know what you're struggling with symptom-wise, and we'll speak to that as well.
It looks like Holly Hajaj says hi.
I'm speaking with people who are jumping in here. Brandy popped in and wanted to say hi.
Oh, okay.
Well,
what about food poisoning or stomach flu? Because that's a pretty common thing.
Stomach flu, that's it. Yeah, sure.
So that would be more short term. Yeah. Out of all these things, that's probably short term.
Yeah.
The main thing is, of course, fluid. So if you have a little bit of diarrhea. Now, when it comes to stomach stuff or gut stuff, throwing up is awesome, right? It's great to keep the weight down. Then you keep your boyfriend. No, wait, that's not true.
Wow.
I think that was
we don't know each other.
That was a very special episode of Blossom, I think that came from. So
we're not close.
One bad joke and suddenly you don't recognize me anymore.
Right.
I see that.
Okay.
So throwing up is a really good thing because short term. Because whatever's in your body that says, oh my God, get this thing out of me now, and then it goes, blah, like that, right? So you want to support throwing up, and same thing with diarrhea. If you have diarrhea short term, that's a good thing. Your body says, whatever the heck get it out of me now, like salmonella or a rotavirus or something like that. It's like, get this out. So it produces excess water and just flushes it out of your body. So you don't really want to do stuff to stop it from happening, but you do want to support the process. So one thing is getting all those fluids back. So that's a big thing. Even if it's a teaspoon at a time and you don't feel like drinking much, but just a little bit at a time adds up very, very quickly.
Okay.
Peppermint is like one of the probably standards. Peppermint and ginger and lemon, those typically are your standards for any kind of stomach issue, which I like. So as preparing this research and stuff out, it's like the same stuff for different conditions, but so you only need a handful of things really for most all things, and then just try those again and again. But peppermint. The other thing is ginger and lemon tea, or ginger lemon puree. So I always like to have that whole organic lemon in about equal size of ginger, and you chop that up, puree it with some water, peel, seeds, everything and all. And then it'll make a paste. And then you put that paste in a glass jar in the fridge, and then you can scoop that out a little bit at a time. Or you could even put it in little ice cube trays and put it in the freezer, and then you have these little blocks of ginger lemon to put in your water, or in case you get sick, you always have those on hand.
Okay.
So
and that works for both upper and lower. So if you've got diarrhea, if you're vomiting, this is where to start.
And it's a very good pain reliever too. For like if your stomach's upset, it'll help with pain. But it's you also can do a ginger lemon, either like a little tonic or a little drink, or sometimes I just eat it. But 1 teaspoon of fresh ginger, and you can slice it or shred it into like a hot teacup, and then steep it, and 2 tablespoons of honey, and that'll take that bitterness away from the ginger, make it a little bit more palatable. And then you just kind of sip on that all day. So you can make like a jar of it in your fridge, and then you just kind of pour off from that and drink it all day. That'll help really calm down the stomach if you have stomach flu. And it'll also help reduce nausea, which is good. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to throw up. But to help with the nausea when you're not throwing up but you feel nauseated, then that lemon ginger drink is awesome for you.
Yeah, and that's certainly not going to hurt to use, even if it's not flu specifically. Like if you've got other things going on that are digestive related. Oh yeah, anytime you have it's always going to be a great place to start.
And especially for kids that have that too, that's really great. You know. Mm-hmm. And then chamomile tea is an antispasmodic, and so we usually think of that as adrenal adaptogen. But actually, that'll help if your like stomach is seizing up and your intestines, you feel that just sharp pain. Chamomile tea is wonderful for that because it should help knock down that spasm. Probably a little valerian root would help too because it's small and smooth muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the valerian tea in general.
And then bananas are awesome, of course, for any type of like gut issue. Mm-hmm. Also, blueberries. If you think it's infective, blueberries are great. They used to make blueberry soup, which I thought was weird, but it actually was a thing. So not blueberry cobbler, probably, but blueberries, just eating them or in a smoothie. Yeah. And which is a cold soup, right?
I guess so.
Yeah. But blueberries are wildly antibiotic too, so those are great. I never thought of blueberries like that, but of course all these natural foods have all these wildly different properties for them too. Mm-hmm. And then of course garlic is a great antibiotic. You know, typically you don't think of garlic taking it when your stomach's all upset, but if you feel like you have stomach flu, garlic is antiviral, antifungal, anti-yeast, antibacterial, and it has 100 different chemicals in it for that. And what I like to do is I like to steep it, mince it, and steep it in hot water. Let that water cool down, and then drink it or sip on it. Mm-hmm. And it takes that bitterness away, and then it's just that constant little bit of inoculation that then helps you kind of win that fight.
Those warm fluids, when I've had the flu before, any sort of respiratory virus, the warm fluids are so calming to me. They are. Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, you know, so one time with our daughter, our middle one is having all these stomach problems, and you know, I think of like, well, just do these things, and nobody listens to me at home, so who gives a crap? But our neighbor, who's a nurse practitioner, she actually said just give her some warm water after her meals, and gave her warm water. She started like her stomach started settling. She started pooing better. Yeah, it was just warm water.
Isn't that a Vedic, Ayurvedic remedy as well, the different temperatures?
Right. Well, and Chinese medicine does that a lot too. But it's it's the yin and yang, the hot and the cold. Yeah.
But I was just thinking about the warm fluid. You can put anything in, like the garlic or the onion or the whatever it is, bone broth.
Oh, warm bone broth would be great. Yeah. Very, very nourishing. And you asked about turmeric, too, when we were preparing for this. And there is a thing that they do for, like, nighttime tummy problems, is basically warm up some, like, almond milk or coconut milk, and then put, like, a teaspoon of turmeric in there, and mix it up, and then drink it before bed. Yeah. So that's a really good one. And that's a nice, simple one for, like, when your kids have a little tummy issues. Doesn't taste great, but you can always put a little bit of honey in there.
I'm kind of into it now. The past couple of days, I've been having my own digestive issues too, and I've been doing both ginger and turmeric with lemon or lime. Just in a warm bath, a tea. And it's
like when you're in the bath?
No. No, I mean just bathing my insides. Not an actual bath.
You should, like, put turmeric in your bathtub.
I didn't think about that, though.
It'll probably stain it all yellow.
But wouldn't you absorb it really well? Through the skin?
Yeah, probably. You'd be yellow then.
But you'd be, like, super healthy.
That's right. Yellow's the new healthy.
Yellow's the new black.
And probiotics. Did anybody say anything about probiotics?
Yeah, well, how have we not talked about probiotics?
Yeah. So when you're sick or you're having stomach things, there's two things that people do. And someone asked me about it today, and I have not used them for so long with patients. I almost forgot about it. But digestive enzymes and then probiotics. And with digestive enzymes, those are good for most gut problems, but they're not always necessary, but they're worth trying, especially if you have undigested food in your bowel. And so the way that these work, so if you get like an Enzymedica Digest Gold or something like that, on the back you'll have things like that end with ASE. And ACE then is an enzyme that digests whatever is in front of it. So if you have lipase, the ACE digests the lipid. If it's protease, then it digests protein. If it's amylase, then it breaks down amylose, which is starch, which is sugar. And so that's what you want to look for on there. Is you'll have amylase, protease, lipase, and then you'll have things like bromelain and papain that you'll sometimes see in those. Usually, I like those more as proteolytic enzymes for like breaking up scar tissue, that kind of stuff. But most foods should have the enzymes you need to break that food down.
Yeah, so if you have trouble, tell me if I'm wrong, if you have trouble with raw fruits and vegetables, then you might want to consider enzymes.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
To help you break those down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with the gastroparesis, too. I guess I forgot about that, too, is basically if you're not making enough enzymes through your pancreas or your gallbladder to be substantial enough for your stomach to say, okay, I'm ready to release it, then you won't release it. And so you'll have that stagnation of digestion that's gastroparesis. So that would be another place where that would actually work out pretty well.
Yeah. So Amy is saying that she said when you talked about the yellow bathtub thing, she said like when she turned her feet yellow with that plantar rub.
Yes.
Are they still yellow, Amy? Because if they are, I would think that would be really
now our
funny.
other doctor's going to think she has like jaundice. You should rub the turmeric around your eyes and your forehead and your arms.
And then go to your PCP and...
Yeah. And say you've been having liver problems.
It's a joke from your natural medicine practitioner.
That's right. So, she blames me?
Blames me.
Why does everybody blame the white guy, right?
It's
bullcrap.
Amy, he deserves
bullcrap.
He deserves it. So, do you guys have any questions about anything that you're struggling with in regards to this? Symptom-wise, anything?
I know something they all have. They're not admitting to.
Weed allergy?
Bloating and gas.
Bloating and gas. Bloating. I'm glad you brought that up because that was my issue this past couple of days.
Yeah.
Bloating and gas. It's your favorite and non-favorite symptom.
That's right. I mean, one of my favorite.
Because it makes everybody laugh.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so...
or some people know, but...
some people either love it or like it or think it's okay.
Okay. I got a like, that's good, and a laugh.
So bloating is typically from overproduction of things like methane gas, right?
Okay.
Which is a flammable gas, which you could fuel your house on.
Which is why you can light
the farts on
your
fire.
farts on fire.
So what's that called?
I don't know. I'm not that savvy.
We had brothers.
Yeah, but we didn't have a name for it.
It's called the blue flame. Which means it's a low-intensity flame.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to admit anyone whether or not you've
If you blue-flamed, post it.
Please don't send us a video.
Send us a video.
No.
Yeah. So, that overproduction of gas is often caused by things like undigestible fiber, of not having enough good bacteria in there to digest it, or overgrowth of too much good bacteria called SIBO, which then produces gas. Sometimes probiotics, when people take it, is killing off the bad bacteria, and if it kills off enough at one time, sometimes those produce gas in the process. What's interesting is typically if you have gas problems and you take digestive enzymes, sometimes that'll just go away. Now, most people, if they just stop doing wheat and dairy, it goes away, right?
Okay.
And if they stop doing sugar, because sugar causes overgrowth of a small bowel bacteria overgrowth, and then that causes gas.
What about beans?
Well,
Is that an enzyme issue?
Yeah, because the fiber in there, you're going to have fiber that you break down, and you have fiber that you don't break down. And the fiber that you don't break down is supposed to be metabolized by the bacteria in fructooligosaccharides. So we've had, it's very interesting because, like, there's times where I can eat tons of beans, never have any gas. And there's times when I eat a little bit of beans and I have a lot of gas. And so it has to do, and the same thing with that we see with patients, is it has to do with that kind of biodome that's going on in the gut. What's that balance look like? Yeah, and it changes from time to time because of so many things that we eat and drink actually can kill off good bacteria, and some things we do nourish the good bacteria. So then you end up with times where you have gas, and sometimes you have bloating, and sometimes you don't have either. So a digestive enzyme might be a good thing to start with in your medicine cabinet. So if you, and actually your probiotics and your enzymes should be in the freezer probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just if you don't use them very often.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't know what probiotics are, send us a message. We'll fill you in on that. We should do a probiotic show.
I don't know. I have research that I put together for a lecture one time that tells you what conditions are related to what missing bacteria.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, Candida would be one.
Candida.
Excellent one to just. Oh, by the way, someone mentioned that in our feed here. That was one of their. One of the things they were wondering about for gut.
So Candida is actually a part of your normal bacteria, and so it only becomes a problem when all the other bacteria are killed off, like antibiotics, or we don't inoculate with enough variety of good bacteria, and that's where we want to do 10 to 30 different strains, but we don't want to be germaphobes. We want to get lots of good bacteria from all over the place, and that's all wonderful for you. So most all bacteria is great, and that is how you try to keep inoculating yourself so that Candida can only stay within its amount.
Population range.
Yeah, the population range, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if you think about like a neighborhood, you want so many Clostridium difficile, so many Candida, and then so many Bifido, and so many lactobacteria. And
you want your gut to be a Benetton commercial.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Benetton?
What the hell
Does
does
anybody
that
know
mean?
what Benetton is? It's a company, and they're very diverse.
Benetton?
Okay.
Is this from the 70s?
We'll have to talk about this later. No,
Benetton?
not. I may have some gray hair, but I'm not that old.
I always felt like you're a mother to me with that gray hair.
I think the gray hair is going to go away this week, everyone.
No, it's warm and nurturing like a little lady.
I just want something different. But enough about my hair.
Let's talk. We should do a whole episode on her hair.
Maybe we should color it.
Gray day.
Gray day.
You got to use natural hair dye, right?
All natural chemical-free hair dye.
Natural color.
Right.
Yeah.
Turmeric. So Jenny was asking, is there anything to help expel the gas when bloated?
Yeah, squeezing really hard and walking away.
I'm sorry, Jenny, that does not help you at all.
It does. One of my patients this week talked about how she does crop dusting. Yeah. She's a teenager.
Oh, okay.
But she crop dusts. So obviously she has brothers to even know what crop dusting is. So.
That used to happen in the bookstore a lot.
Did it really?
Yeah. Yeah. Walk back and forth through the bookstore all the time looking for books, and let me tell you, you'd walk through some crop dust
Interesting
on
things.
some certain days.
So, wait, what was the question?
The question was, anything to... This is what happens. I'm sorry. The question was, anything to help expel gas when bloated? You know, like if you were going to take a gas, that would be the natural alternative to a Gas X.
Well, I think Gas X is natural, or isn't it? I don't know.
Simethicone.
Doesn't sound natural.
I shouldn't know that, but I do.
Why do you even know that?
I shouldn't know that, but I do.
How much does meth weigh on average?
Although Amy does say that bloating and gas were the first things to go when she stopped gluten and dairy.
Boom. That's right. Gluten and dairy are almost your first ones. The food sensitivity ones typically get rid of it too. But do a food log. That's a good way. But again, and see if the enzymes help. See if different blends of probiotics. I know some people have taken probiotics, say they take Solaray, and it caused them gas, but then they switched to Garden of Life, and it went away. And so that's another thing is what's your probiotic blend that you have? Maybe it's causing too much overgrowth of a certain bacteria.
But doesn't peppermint tea help as well for bloating and gas?
Yeah, so peppermint tea is probably the biggest one for that, next to Gas X.
Okay.
Yeah. And usually I have like a bunch of remedies, but peppermint tea I think is the favorite for next to farting. So it's okay to fart. When you fart, you are sharing yourself with others, and when people smell your fart, it's because physically there are molecules from your butt now embedded in their nose. That's the only way you can smell stuff, is if it's embedded into the mucus of your nasal cavity, and it touches a hair cell, not the hairs, but what's called a hair cell, and then that goes to your lobe up here, rhino lobe, and then it says, hey, somebody farted, right? But now you are a part of that person.
What if you don't want to be a part of that person? And what if you don't want them to be a part of you? That's my thought. Because I don't want to be smelling people's poop particles.
You got to be part of society. It's all part of society. When you hug other people, you share your probiotics. Why not share your internal body? Right?
I don't want to be that intimate.
When you're crop dusting, you're sharing with others.
I'm really sorry if you did not get any help from this talk. Yeah, so peppermint tea or peppermint essential oil.
I think we all learned that she knows what the active ingredient Gas X is.
It's something I have struggled with. I have I'm telling you, we need to talk about the support group at Dr. G's neighborhood because it is hard not to cheat. And when you cheat, you bloat.
Yeah. So there's a new Facebook page called Dr. G's Neighborhood. And that one was set up by Amy. And it's great for people that did the IgG testing. So all these people struggling with what do I eat? Where can I get certain foods from? All those things that every single one of us dealt with the first time that we had that testing done. That's a great place for everybody to kind of coalesce together and share recipes and foods and ideas too, which is great. So if you have natural, because they're all gut patients for the most part, and so that's a great place to share other home remedies too. So some of the things that you guys have tried that have worked makes a big difference for others. I mean, one person's life, especially like when somebody is resolved of like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, they are now a beacon of hope to all these other people that have never been told they can fix it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And so with gas, I mean, some of these things like gas and stomach aches and reflux, these are what every other person is dealing with. Mm-hmm. And so the more solutions we have, the better.
Yeah. Speaking of the gas, again, Brianna's asking, someone she lives with believes that kale and greens give him gas.
Yeah, it can, because the fiber.
Okay.
Yeah, that undigestible fiber.
Does he need enzymes?
Well, so that would be a good provocative test, is try enzymes or separate bedrooms, either way. But yeah, try enzymes and see if that helps. And again, it won't be long term. It's usually just a month or two of digestive enzymes, and then things just seem to normalize.
Yeah.
And so it's basically means out of balance. And we want to just figure ways to get things back into balance.
Yeah. So guess what? We have a newcomer, Trish. Hi, Trish. This is her first time watching. And Trish says she has never been so entertained while also being educated.
Oh, that's
Thank
very
you,
sweet.
Thank you, Trish. That
Yeah.
makes us feel good. Because we have a good time, too.
Yeah, it shouldn't be boring, you know? Dealing with bodily fluids. And
Right.
I got some stories to tell about that from, like, rounds. Holy crap.
Yeah. So,
I remember the first time we had a patient that was bleeding. And so this was during internal medicine rounds. And so Doc had him lay on the side. And then he sticks what's called an anoscope in there, which is like a little, like a speculum for like...
the rectum.
Yeah.
Speculum for pelvic exams.
Yeah. But it's for the anus. And then you stick that in there, and then you look around for stuff just like you do the vagina. And holy crap, I kept backing up because I was sure that when he stuck that tube in there, that stuff was going to come spraying out over the doctor. And the doctor's like, like that. And I thought, I'm not getting messy today. But
And
nothing happened. Nothing happened. There's a sphincter at the top and
At
the
the
rectum.
top of the rectum, okay.
Yeah, so nothing happened. So the big disappointment.
That's a really good story, thanks.
That's a terrible story.
It's okay. You win some, you lose some.
And no bicycle. So
I don't know what that means.
that's that one joke. You say I say the same jokes all the time.
You do.
But yet you don't remember the punchlines, so... Mm-hmm.
All right.
What about constipation? That's a pretty big one.
It is.
So, with constipation, typically you have 9 feet of bowel. You have your ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, makes a little S called the sigmoid, and then you poop, right? Well, as stuff comes in from the small intestine to the large intestine through the cecal valve, it's liquid, and we want to turn a milkshake into Lincoln Logs. And the way that you do that is you dehydrate it by 99.9%. And so the whole job of that 9 feet of bowel is to dehydrate and take all that water back, which is kind of interesting because we're then circulating poop water around the rest of our body that's been purified. So that's pretty weird. And then you make nice form bowel.
Okay.
And there's a cool chart you can look up called the Bristol poop chart.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah.
And so you can kind of rate what your poop looks like. I think it's 1 to 6.
There's also some great books at Barnes & Noble. One of my favorites is What is Your Poo Telling You?
That rhymes.
Yes.
Is that a book on poetry or pooping?
It's, in my opinion, it's both.
The poetry of poop. That's magical.
The poetry of poop. Okay. That's not Winnie the Pooh.
Is it a scratch and sniff?
That is...
That would be an awesome book. Body odor, scratch and sniff. I think that's basically a 40-year-old man. He's just a walking scratch and sniff. So, everybody's dad at 40. What's this? Which, by the way, that's a great way if you're on an airplane and you want people not to sit next to you. Just kind of smell your fingers like that as people walk by. It works on the bus.
All right.
Nobody will want to sit next to you. So, with constipation, that means that water is being over-dehydrated, and so that means things are slow in there. So, a couple things is, one, you can simply do magnesium like Natural Calm, and that usually is the quickest cure for constipation, because if you take too much, you will have diarrhea, right? So you want to take it to bowel tolerance, to where things are just kind of smooth and going.
That works really well. I've used that before. That's,
Yeah. So now we know you've had constipation and gas.
I'm okay. I like myself.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm good.
I have literally never had a gut problem, ever.
Oh, I do not believe that for a second.
Maybe once or twice, but rarely.
Right, kind of like last night.
Well, that was just...
That's upper GI. See, even the mention of it causes symptoms.
I know, it was burning my throat. It was the worst. The worst. And I had to use toothpaste as my home remedy because I didn't have any other actual home remedy. It's the worst.
He's the MacGyver of natural medicine.
I had a paper clip, some toothpaste.
And some gum.
And some gum.
Right.
and I blew a bubble, and I put the toothpaste inside, and I swallowed it and popped it with the.
Speaking of that, speaking of bubbles, this is totally off topic, so I'm really sorry, but have you seen those edible water bubbles?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I've seen them on Facebook, but I don't know what they are.
You eat the whole thing.
Have you guys ever done that?
And it's non-toxic. It's only made of like chloride and something else, gelatin or something like that. It's completely edible.
So weird.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, sorry.
We should make that. All right. So with constipation, more water. So most people don't drink enough water. So then there's not enough water to go through and create a normal soft bowel, or it's going through too slow. And so the magnesium and extra water should be your instant cure for acute constipation. If it's chronic, then you need to see someone and say, why is it chronic? But for the most part, those two things help. The other thing that really helps, and this will be our last little thing, unless you guys have questions that we can answer later, but exercise.
Oh, exercise for constipation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a story. So my brother...
Wait, you have a story finally? This is awesome.
I have stories sometimes. I don't know that it's that great of one, but you know those little round trampolines? Those little mini trampolines? Yeah. So my brother told me that I need to get one of these, and so I buy one, and I'm jumping on it one day, and I'm not kidding you, within about the time of, I'd say within an hour or two, I pooped 3 times.
On the trampoline?
No.
That's gross.
Just in general.
Oh.
Just in general. It got everything, got that motility
It should,
going.
yeah. So exercise always outperforms medication on just about everything.
Or you can just jump up and down in the bathroom.
Yeah. You can hip hop hooray until the poop goes away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please say that in the bathroom while you're doing it.
So I'll post some of these for you guys at the end. I'll post my little list that I came up with. But also, it'll have the measurements for a few of these things. But really, gut stuff's pretty simple when it's acute. And it's nice to have 1 or 2 like really good remedies like the ginger or the peppermint or the lemon. That kind of like, no matter what you have gut-wise, those typically work.
Yeah.
So my takeaway for this week is don't take any crap from your bowels. Yeah? That's pretty good. That's really good.
It's just sort of meaningless.
God dang it.
I hadn't even thought about my takeaway. We didn't really talk much about reflux. We have a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Well, with reflux, a lot of times it's because not enough acid, like the hypohydrochloridia. So a little bit of apple cider vinegar, like 2 teaspoons before you eat. Often we'll take care of that, or before bed. Sometimes, like if you have an active one, baking soda mixed with a little water, that helps. Natural calm would work, I think, just as well.
Oh, okay.
And you're better off with Tums than you would be like a Prilosec, for sure, when it comes to nutrient depletions. Enzymes for some people. And then aloe vera is one that we get a lot. And so there's aloe vera juice, and it's kind of like, that's like the low end of good ideas for that. And it may work. It may work perfectly fine. But your best thing is to have an aloe vera plant, or buy like a long leaf like that from Thai Ben, and then scrape all that out, and then put it in little either balls or ice cube tray, and freeze them. And so you have those kind of on hand.
Are there foods that you can eat that make it feel better, that ease the pain, other than ginger, like foods?
Well, for reflux, usually they say it's acidic food, though that's not really true. There's nothing more acidic than your actual stomach acid. The foods, mainly with reflux, it's caused by something interfere with that upper sphincter, and that typically is wheat, dairy, MSG, chocolate, nitrates, sulfites, IgG sensitivities because of histamines.
So it's more about avoiding those.
Right. So it's never too much acid or any of those kind of things. So there's that short-term symptomatic, but long-term, it's you can do food tracking, you do food sensitivity, but reflux should be that easy to fix. Okay. It really should be. And then a lot of times the medication that people take for the reflux ensures that they will have continued reflux even as they're fixing the problem.
Yeah.
Which makes it a little bit kind
it's
of...
definitely better to fix that in a natural way.
Right, right.
Speaking of good foods to eat, we talk about this every show. Is there anybody who can name our 7 foods that we always speak about eating? I'll give you the first 2: fruits and vegetables. Can you type in or tell us any more of the 7? The 7 foods. We want you guys to remember this, so that when you're in the grocery store, you know what to buy, and you're thinking whole foods, not processed foods.
Right.
So Doritos and burritos are not part of it. Churritos and Tostitos are not part of it. Seeds and greens, yes.
Yeah. Nuts.
Is this one away?
Yeah.
Oh.
So fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, ice cream.
Ice cream, fish.
Coconut ice cream is a nut.
Fish. That's an interesting one. You should speak to that. Amy said fish.
Yeah. Amy's just trying to push her fish agenda.
Is Tim our moonshine person? He's
No,
that's
okay. Yeah.
That was someone else.
Oh, I can't remember his name. Dan,
so we got fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, 3 more, and I think it was Brianna last time
I got it.
We did kind of split one of them.
She's heard me say this like a million times, but I say this like all the time.
Okay. Well,
fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
You guys type it in. We'll finish up. We'll wrap it up, and we'll double check afterward.
So, what are we going to talk about next time?
Oh, yeah. So we were talking about possibly continuing on with digestion.
Yep, they got it too.
Greens, beans, yes.
Yep.
Greens, beans, and legumes.
Very good. Fruit, vegetable, nut, seed, berry, legumes, and greens. Awesome.
I'm still trying to memorize it myself.
So next week?
We were talking about doing just a show like on the big 3. Yeah. So sugar, dairy, wheat.
Yeah. We could call it Kill Whitey. White flour, white sugar, white milk.
White.
Yeah, Kill White. So our next segment is Kill Whitey. We're going to be on the no-fly list, I think.
I think one of us is going to get murdered here pretty soon.
Kill Whitey.
So I'm going to let...
So when my friends say they don't trust Whitey, they mean white flour, white sugar, white milk, I think. It probably had nothing to do with me. It's probably dietary.
No comment.
It's probably dietary.
No comment here.
So we'll have a whole segment on each of those. And so we'll come up with some really...
The whites. We'll call it the whites.
Oh, that's racist. I just call it food, you know. I don't even see color when I see food.
You see this, right? You see what I have to deal with.
White rice, black rice, red rice, brown rice. It's all rice to me, man.
Okay.
Except for the white rice. Okay. That's the bad rice.
Valerie had a question. If you're just joining us, we've been talking about
you're late.
Tummy troubles. So check it out from the beginning. We've talked about constipation and bloating and diarrhea and gas and reflux. Yeah.
Yeah.
My takeaway is, what is my takeaway? Does it even matter?
You just...
Did my takeover?
We were doing that like a half an hour ago.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it.
No, what's your takeaway now?
I was kind of thinking and speaking at the same time.
You can't leave people hanging.
For tonight's show?
Yes. Yeah, for tonight's show. What's your takeaway for tonight's show?
You can make it better. That's my takeaway. You can make it better.
Okay.
You can feel better.
Yeah.
Try these things.
Usually you just copy my takeaway.
Oh, that is so not true.
That's what I've seen in the past. I think people are agreeing there. Right there. You can see them agreeing. Definitely.
Okay. Right.
All right. Thank you guys for attending.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. And we'll talk about Dairy's the Devil.